Hi everyone, Aaron here for Zollotech, and this is the OnePlus 7 Pro. I've been using it for about a week and a half or so. I've had my SIM card in it for quite a bit of that, and this is one of my favorite Android phones, or favorite phones I've ever used, quite honestly. There's so much good about it, but I'm going to cover the good and the bad. Now let's start off with the good. The first thing is its design. It feels really nice in the hand. It's very futuristic feeling, very similar to a Galaxy phone. This curved edge here leading to a very thin side edge makes it just feel really great in the hand. Now, of course, it's very slippery because of this finished back, so if you use the included case, that definitely helps, or you could buy a different one as well. I just like to use it without the case because it just feels like I'm holding a phone that's more futuristic, of course, because it has no bezels hardly, it has no forward-facing camera or notch punched in here, so it just really looks great, and I like the design a lot. Of course, we have this switch on the side, which also adds to it, and I don't know why more Android manufacturers don't do this, but to silence the phone or let it ring or vibrate, that is by far one of the best features of this phone, and I don't know why they don't add that to every Android phone. Now the next thing, of course, is this display. It's the best display easily on any phone as far as the way it looks. It's got great viewing angles, and just, of course, it filling out this whole front of the phone makes it look that much better. And the display is 3120 by 1440 with 516 pixels per inch, and it's 6.67 inches. This is a big phone. And to give you a comparison, here is a Pixel 3 XL, and that gives you an idea of its size. So it's a pretty big phone and a little bit taller than an S10 Plus or a Pixel 3 XL. And it's about the same width, but it's definitely a little taller, and it's very heavy. I don't know if that has to do with all the components inside for the forward-facing camera. We'll talk more about that in a moment. But the main thing with this display is its 90 Hz refresh rate. It's super smooth all the time. Now you can turn that down to 60 frames per second, but you can see the difference. I don't know if you can see it on this video. The video is at 60p or 60 frames per second, but it's definitely noticeable in person, and anyone I've shown it to has been very impressed. And I've yet to see it slow down, and that leads to the next point of speed. The Snapdragon 855 coupled with, well, at least this version has 8 gigabytes of RAM. You can bump that to 12 gigabytes or get one with 6 gigabytes, but this has 8. It's in the middle, and it's plenty fast and fluid with 8 gigabytes of RAM. The RAM management is good. I don't find myself seeing apps reload regularly or anything like that. It's just a very nice phone to use, and 8 gigabytes is probably the sweet spot. If you want to spend a little bit more, you can do that and get the 12 gigabytes, but it starts at $669. This is the $699 version, and then you can go a little bit more expensive. But I think if you're going to go with one and you just want to save a little bit of money, you can do that. And it has 256 gigabytes of internal storage that's not upgradable, and this is actually the T-Mobile version, which isn't as good, and I'll talk about that in a moment. But let's move on to the next good thing. Other than speed, since it doesn't really ever slow down, in fact, I've not had it slow down once, the next thing is the camera. The camera is super fast, has a lot of different options, of course. We've got video. Now, the video options are quite nice. This will capture 4K 60. So you'll see there's an ultra wide lens, there's manual HDR control. We also can share data and those sorts of things. Turn on a 3x3 or golden ratio grid, whatever you'd like. It's in here. It's very customizable and nice. And you'll see I have the flashlight on. So if you want to light your subject, you can do that while you're taking a video. Of course, you've got photo and portrait modes. And then, of course, we've got that wide angle lens like I mentioned before. So you've got a normal lens, telephoto, and wide angle. And let's take a look at some of those photos from this. Now, of course, we have that forward-facing lens, and when we hit the button here, it spins around and pops up the camera, and this works really well. It's pretty flawless and no issues there whatsoever. I really think it's a great way to do that as long as this is durable. And OnePlus keeps releasing videos showing how durable this front-facing camera is, so I think it's going to be fine for most people, and it does have portrait mode and all of those things. So in general, it's a great camera. It is not as good as at photos as a Pixel 3 XL. Video is pretty good as well. Take a look at some of the video from it here. You'll see the video is pretty good. I'm not going to say it's as good as an iPhone as far as the video is concerned, but for the most part, the camera is going to be great for most people. The nightscape, in my experience, is not as good as, say, Pixel's version, but for most people, this is going to be fine and is not a huge compromise. Unless you're really into photography, you'll notice it, or you'll just use something like a mirrorless or a DSLR or something like that, a mirrorless camera. So I think it's more than sufficient and just as good as most other cameras. Now, the next positive thing is the speakers. It has a speaker at the very top here and then one at the bottom, and it is in stereo. It's very similar to how an iPhone sounds because it's shooting sound out the bottom and towards you with this one. So you can't really hear it in a video like this, but when you're playing video and things, they're nice and loud, no issues with them. They sound good. They do get a little tinny at high volumes, and I wouldn't say they're phenomenal, but they're pretty good for the most part. I don't think most people would be upset with the quality of them. And if you really want higher quality, you're going to use headphones or something else. Now, the final good thing is the fingerprint reader. So if we turn the display on, it's super fast. It's incredibly fast for a fingerprint reader. Now, it may not be as secure as, say, a Samsung Galaxy S10 Plus because of that using sonic or ultrasonic, but this is actually using a camera under the display. So if we turn it on, we can just do it like this. It's fast every time. Switch fingers. I do have this one programmed. Sometimes there's a little bit of lag, but for the most part, it's as fast as any fingerprint reader I've used. So it seems pretty good as far as that goes. Now, the next thing is a mid-category of good and bad, and that's leading to the battery. Now, the battery is a 4,000 milliamp hour battery, and for the most part, it's pretty good. It should get you through most of the day, but it is not phenomenal. And I don't know if I can show you here, but I was finding I was getting about 5 hours of screen on time. This was recently charged, so it's not going to show that, but I'm getting about 5 hours of screen on time with normal use, and that's from the start of the day to the end. So I've gotten better on other phones. I find that it's okay, it's acceptable, and what really helps is the fast charger. This warp charger really does work well. If you're low on battery, plug it in for 15 minutes and you're good to go for another half a day or so. So really, if you don't think too much about it, it's not that big of a deal. As long as you can plug in for 15 or 20 minutes, you'll be fine. Otherwise, it's going to be a pain for you. Now, that leads to the next category, which is the bad things about the OnePlus 7 Pro. And the first thing is no wireless charging. Now, this may not be bad for some people. I find it to be very convenient. Without it, of course, you have that warp charger I just mentioned, but I really appreciate when we have wireless charging. I wish they could have done that, but they didn't. It's not the end of the world, but where this phone lacks, that's one of the areas. The next thing is there's no headphone jack. And again, this isn't going to be a huge deal for many people today, but no headphone jack when OnePlus is all about not compromising the experience, kind of is a little frustrating to me at times, since the Pixel 3a and 3a XL actually added one back. So I would love to see that, but I don't really hold my breath for that. And it's not a huge deal, but it may be for some. The next thing, of course, is no IP rating. And while I'm not really sold on the whole IP rating thing. I think it's helpful, but since manufacturers don't cover it anyway if it's damaged in water, even if their seals don't hold, it's not a huge deal to me, but OnePlus has said they've basically done what's required of an IP68 certification without getting it certified so that it saves us money. I'm not really willing to test that, but it seems like it holds up well in some other tests underwater, so I think you'll be fine for the most part. I wouldn't take it swimming or anything like that, but getting some water on it should be okay. Now I have two more bad things, and they're really minor, quite honestly. One of them is no visual voicemail for free. This is a T-Mobile version of the phone, so you actually have to pay for their visual voicemail. You can try it out. When it comes to the actual OEM version of this, it may be different. The other thing has to do with updates. This is the T-Mobile version, and this will not be true if you have the OEM version or the one you order from their website. If you go down here and go to System Update, there's only the April update, but this does not have things like DC dimming to help with the display if it bothers your eyes, like it does for me, and it also does not have some of the other features that come with the OEM version. So the actual updates come later. This update didn't come until yesterday, and it still doesn't have all the features I was looking forward to, so there's that. Otherwise, though, this is a great phone. It is incredibly fast. You can see here's Chrome. If we go back out, maybe go into music here, everything just loads crazy fast all the time, and I have no issues with it whatsoever. I highly, highly recommend this phone if you're looking for an Android phone that's as close to OEM as possible. In fact, that should be another positive for me, is it's basically a stock Android phone with a couple features like this switch here that add to the experience. They don't try and manipulate or change the experience. So I think it's really great. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Of course, I'll link this wallpaper. It's a motion wallpaper if you haven't seen it. It kind of zooms in when you unlock the phone. I'll try and link it in its static form in the description below. If you haven't subscribed already, though, please subscribe and like if you enjoyed the video. As always, thanks for watching. This is Aaron. I'll see you next time.